We're going to look now at using rounding to estimate answers to calculations. So it's a really good idea to actually do this more or less every time you do a calculation in maths, okay? So every time you do something in maths, you want to be thinking, roundabout, what should my answer be, okay? So if we have a look at this first one, 19.3287, add on 48.9273. Let's just round these both. They both have a tens digit, that's the biggest digit, so let's round them to the nearest 10. So if I was going to round 19.3287 to the nearest 10, it's closest to 20, okay? And if I was going to round 48.9273, that's closest to 50, okay? So I know my answer is going to be round about 70, and you can do that in your head straight away, okay? You can see that this is pretty close to 20, this is pretty close to 50, so your answer you'd expect to be close to 70. So if you went ahead and did this calculation fully in a test, and you got 700 or something close to 700 for your answer, you'd know it was wrong because you'd estimated it first, okay? We can also round them to different amounts of accuracy. So instead of rounding to the nearest 10, we could round to the nearest unit, okay? So that would give me, for the first one, if I'm cutting it off after my units, it's a 3 after, that's small, so it's going to round down to 19. And this one, cutting it off after the units, it's a 9 after, so that's going to round up. I'm getting 19 plus 49, which is 68. So it's pretty close, but this is obviously more accurate, okay? So if I went and rounded it to 1 decimal place, for example, I'd get an even more accurate answer. But when we're using rounding to estimate answers, we're just kind of looking for a ballpark figure, okay? Something pretty close to it. So that'll do for this one. Okay, so if it doesn't say in the question, you've got a choice of what you can round to, okay? So it's just for getting a rough idea of what the actual answer should be. So for this one, they're both in the thousands. Let's round to thousands and maybe we'll do hundreds as well. So for this first one, that's going to round, so 5,893 is between 5,000 and 6,000. It's closer to 6,000. 1,739 is between 1,000 and 2,000, but it's closer to 2,000. So I'm going to get 4,000 as a rough answer. And that's, I mean, rounding to the nearest 1,000 is big, okay? So it's not going to give us a very accurate answer. Let's try rounding to the nearest 100 as well, just to see what we get, okay? So that will give us a more accurate answer. So I'm going to cut off after the hundreds. Okay, so for this one it's a 9 and after, so it's going to round to 5,900. And this one it's a 3 after, that's small, so it's going to round to 1,700. So all in all, that's giving me 4,200. So you can see that these two are kind of close-ish, but this is more accurate. Okay, but we don't need to do you see how I've done 2 for both of them? You absolutely, going by this question, you don't need to do 2. Okay, so let's just do 1 for the next 2. Okay, let's round to the nearest unit. Okay, when you've got decimals like this, that kind of makes sense. Okay, so if I'm cutting this off after units, 3.9 is closest to 4. And remember 7.5 would be bang in the middle of 7 and 8, but if it's a 5, we always round up. So this is going to be pretty close to 32. Okay, so just to reiterate, if you type that into your calculator and you got an answer of 1,000, okay, you would know straight away that's wrong because it's pretty close to 4 times 8. It's going to be, your answer is going to be close to 32. Okay, let's have a look at this one. We'll round to the nearest unit again. Okay, so 44.532, that's going to round to 45. And 8.7, that would round to 9. So my answer for this is going to be round about 5. And you can see how much easier this is. So the idea of this is we're just trying to do something very, very easy, very simple, but that gives us a rough idea of the answer. To actually do this calculation, 44.532 divided by 8.704, that would be a real pain to do that by hand, okay? But this kind of gives us a ballpark figure for what our answer should be. Okay, so that's how you can use rounding, and I would recommend doing this every maths calculation you do, especially if you're sitting a test. Okay, just estimate your answer first. You can see it's very, very quick and easy to do, but it will give you a really good check of if your actual answer is right or not. Okay.